Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Welcome to the brand new fantasy football channel that we are putting out here. We're going to go over everything for your season long and best ball needs on this channel. Top running backs, top wide receivers, early mock drafts, way too early first looks. We're going to do some best ball drafts on this channel, on Underdog Fantasy and on DraftKings. We're going to do it all for you. This is where the season long content is going to reside. So thank you guys for being here on the new channel. If you would be very kind and drop a subscribe, ring the notifications bell, because it's obviously not on the main channel where if you know about me, you're probably already subscribed there. So drop a sub here so that anytime I come out with new content, YouTube will show you that content. We are going to take a look at 3 of the videos that I did this off season. Take a look at where I was right and where I was wrong, why I was right or why I was wrong. Was my process incorrect? Did we get unlucky? The player got injured. We had some stuff happen. We're going to take a look at 3 different videos at the decision. We're not going to watch the videos here. We're going to go through them, take a look at the picks that I made by round or where they were versus ADP and see if they paid off, as well as taking a look at my results on Underdog and a couple of the drafts that I did on DraftKings throughout the season. I had a slightly profitable year in the very difficult Best Ball Mania 2 tournament, but I try to play these tournaments. I'm not trying to grind out a profit in best ball by playing the sit and goes and the cash games. I'm trying to win like $1 million playing best ball because that's how I have fun. So I did not make a profit on the season, but I had a lot of good decisions, and I think that I can continue the process that I have and work towards having another winning year in 2022 through drafts. But 2021 was such a weird year based on injuries and COVID restrictions and everything else, especially once we got near the playoffs, that a lot of my teams got dumped out. So thank you all for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let me know in the replies down below what you think of the new fantasy football channel and how you did in 2021. What mistakes did you make, and what are you changing for 2022 for your strategy for your season-long drafts? Let's go.
He's a legend.
So as I said, these videos lived on the main channel. They're now here on the fantasy football channel. We're going to take a look at 3 of them just for time's sake. So here was my top 10 or not top 10. These were top 10 options for 0 running back drafts. So I named 10 guys that were being picked later than the 5th round, 6th round and later only on running backs. My preferred style of drafting is some people are now calling it what? Hero running back. I call it bell cow and chill. I want to get a stud running back early if I'm drafting in the first half of the first round, and then I'm taking a bunch of wide receivers. In half-point PPR, you can basically do whatever you want, like on Underdog. If you're on DraftKings, probably shouldn't draft more than 2 running backs in the top 10 rounds. Fill out everything else, because bonuses and full PPR makes it difficult for those plays to pan out for you if you draft too many running backs early in full PPR, especially with as tough as that is. So the first running back on this was Mike Davis. He didn't do great this year. We had the wrong Atlanta running back. The process was right that I think that Atlanta's running back is going to do well. I just didn't think, and neither did anybody else, think that Cordell Patterson, who went undrafted in something like 99% of Underdog Best Ball Mania drafts this season, he came out of absolutely nowhere and smashed. The touches that we thought were going to go to Mike Davis went to him, especially as the season went along. Davis was like all right, but not great. I'll take an L on that pick. Moving along through the video, the next pick, Myles Gaskin, who was being drafted in the middle of the 6th round. Tough spot here. At the time that we recorded this video, as you can see, July 22nd, nobody else had been signed, and he was the only person in town. Then they brought in Malcolm Brown, and that kind of pushed him down a little bit. He had some usable weeks, but not for the price, not who I'd have wanted to go with. I would have probably rather gone with a wide receiver in that spot. I'll take the miss there if you want. Damien Harris was a big time hit. He was a win for us. Had a very usable best ball season. Was going at I had him ranked at 89, but his average ADP on that date, if I remember correctly, was something like the RB 30 something. Like he was being drafted as a late RB3, maybe an RB4, going in the 9th or 10th round of drafts. Big time profit on his ADP with this pick. AJ Dillon came around as the season went on, and if you had him in best ball, you were drafting him. You weren't drafting AJ Dillon as an RB2. You weren't drafting AJ Dillon as an RB3. You were drafting AJ Dillon as an RB4 or an RB5. You were filling out a bunch of wide receivers, getting your quarterback 1, sometimes your quarterback 2, building out your stacks. AJ Dillon, big time profit on his ADP on this running back video. You can check all of these out on the main channel. Tony Pollard fits into the style of drafting that I go with. Anytime that I am going with this running back and chill, this bell cow and chill philosophy, I want to target 40% guys. You saw that with AJ Dillon. Damien Harris, I guess he's a 40% guy too, because everybody on New England's a 40% guy. And I mean 40% of snaps, 40% of touches built in from go. Tony Pollard was certainly that. Ezekiel Elliott did not handle 100% of snaps. Tony Pollard did have a role. And when you draft these 40% type running backs, it gives you a path to them being the 80% running back. This video came out right after Darrell Henderson became the #1 guy, and he was at that time the guy that I was clicking, like auto clicking in the 11th round of drafts. I had him in like 48% of my best ball drafts, up to the point where Cam Akers got injured. So you draft these 40% guys in knowing that running back is so volatile, so hyper fragile, that they're basically one practice or one play away from being the guy. Tony Pollard had some usable weeks for us in best ball. Never became the guy because Ezekiel Elliott, even though he sustained injuries, never really sat out. So Tony Pollard, I guess, was like fine for the philosophy, but never really boomed for us in terms of being a pick. Gus Edwards, same sort of philosophy. He was going to be the secondary guy, was being drafted in like the 10th round of drafts, 12th round of drafts. And then when Dobbins went down, all of a sudden Gus was like a 3rd round pick, and then Gus went down. So this worked, and then it didn't work. Injury is a part of running backs, and that's why we go with a later running back philosophy. Latavius Murray was a 40% guy in New Orleans. Then everybody got injured for the Ravens. He got cut from New Orleans. And then he became the main guy in Baltimore. And then he got hurt too. So I don't know how you want to grade this one. You want to give me an L here for Latavius Murray around pick 130s, 130 to 140. I'll take that L, but I'm going to make that pick every single time. And I know everybody hates these when we're making them, but like, it is what it is. James Robinson, it says rank 51 here, but he was being drafted as like the 90th overall pick, wherever his ADP was. He was somebody that I was buying at ADP based on the fact that if he was a 40 to 60% player, if ATN was not going to be the guy, he was going to have already a very usable role at his ADP. And then looking at it beyond that, when ATN went down, massive profit here for us on James Robinson. Same thing goes for our next pick. Melvin Gordon III was ranked 69. Nice. He was not being drafted there. He was being drafted way later, and especially being drafted like Javonte Williams was being drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, and Melvin Gordon was being drafted like 5 rounds later. They basically played 50% of the snaps each. Melvin Gordon extremely usable this year, especially at his ADP. So enough wins in this video for me to be happy about the way that this analysis and the strategy of going bell cow and chill works for me. The key, obviously, you got to nail that 1st round running back. You drafted first, you took CMC, it didn't work. You drafted Derrick Henry, looked like you were on top of the world until you weren't. If you drafted Saquon, didn't work. If you drafted Dalvin Cook, he was in and out of the lineup. When he was in, he was great. When he was out, didn't help you. If you happen to pick 5th or 6th and take Jonathan Taylor, congratulations, you won your league. That's why we go with this late round draft pick philosophy for running backs, because they're so hyper fragile early in the season. If you put all of your eggs in that running back basket, it doesn't always work out for you. So make sure that you have backups and paths, especially in best ball where there's no transactions. If you're playing in a transaction league, you're always picking those guys up off of waivers. Best ball is more of a war of attrition. My top stacks video. I guess I nailed the cover. And yes, I know I've lost a lot of weight since July. But we definitely nailed the cover, especially when it came to the playoffs. We're going to get into the rest of the video here. Let's take a look at who our top stacks were on this video. I'm talking for a long time. We're talking. And here's somebody. So first one, we were doing, I guess, an establish the run promo on this video. Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Hopkins got injured late in the year, and that kind of sucked. Rondale Moore had a pick late. The key to these stacks was Were you able to fill out a quarterback and at least two of their pass catchers at ADP, and could you profit on them at ADP? AJ Green was being drafted at like 161, major profit there. Christian Kirk 157, major profit there. Rondale Moore, negative area. Come on, Cliffy. Like, seriously, Cliff? What are we even doing here with negative area? And Hopkins got hurt. Kyler Murray did fine. If you had doubles with him, hopefully you at least had one, if not both, of the late options, but you probably had DeAndre Hopkins in the first, then Kyler in the fifth, then probably Rondale and or AJ Green a little bit later. Moving through this video, I did an entire talk on this video. If you go back and watch it, this was the My Top 5 Stacks published on August the 3rd on the main channel, that said you can get two of these three pass catchers. And judging by how much Cincinnati threw it the year before when Burrow was healthy, as well as taking a look at Burrow's touchdown percentage, I went through an entire regression discussion. Did fine, right? Didn't throw a lot of picks. Great. And he threw a lot of attempts, and that's really what I'm looking for with this stack, right? So they were one of the highest volume passing offenses in the league. And being one of the highest passing volume offenses in the league, Joe Burrow threw like 3% of his passes for touchdowns, which you usually hear me talk about these things in terms of when a player is doing too well. 3% touchdown percentage is not sustainable. If you are a talented thrower, 3.2% of his passes went for touchdowns last year. The point in this video, if you go back and watch it, was if he just gets to like a 5%, anything over 6 is Hall of Fame caliber. If he just regresses to like 5% touchdowns and throws the ball as much as he did last year, which he didn't, he was actually more efficient on less attempts as they went to more of a running approach, then he was going to throw 30 plus touchdowns in 2021, and he ended up throwing 30 plus touchdowns in 2021. I was off on the target expectations for the wide receivers, but they got there based on the boomer bust nature of how often they threw deep this year with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd chipped in as well. So hopefully you were on some Cincinnati stacks possibly for this. Tom Brady was another stack that worked out. I believe that the Tom Brady doubles or Tom Brady stacks were some of the highest percentage stacks that ended up in the playoffs in best ball this year. As you can see, you could have gotten these at least one of Evans or Godwin. Pair them with Antonio Brown. Yes, we know Antonio Brown went crazy against the Jets. Rob Gronkowski at an average of 159 was his average pick in drafts. That's absurd. That's where he was being picked. Massive profit on that salary. At that ADP at that point. So Underdog rankings ADP. The Cowboys were the next one. Dak is great. CeeDee Lamb, you would have picked one of Lamb or Cooper. Cooper did not really pay off. CeeDee Lamb did well. Michael Gallup, up and down throughout the year. Hopefully you went Schultz, who was going in the last round of drafts. He was a 18th round draft pick on Underdog and very likely undrafted. And you could have gotten Schultz in rounds 18 through 20 on DraftKings as well. Massive profit potential with your Dak stacks if you locked up Lamb, Gallup, and Dalton Schultz in best ball last year. A lot of hits in the top stacks video, and then obviously the last one was a big miss as Fitzmagic went down super early, which killed all these stacks. One, because you lost your QB. Two, because Heineke is not anywhere close to as good as Fitz and for fantasy, and Fitz is just a better quarterback IRL, which kind of sunk Terry McLaurin. Samuel was hurt all the time. Logan Thomas got injured for basically the entire season, give or take a couple of games. And I think that he would have smashed at his ADP, but clearly did not. So this stack was a loss. Moving on to my must draft players in every round. Rounds 1 through 10. Who cares? It's round 1. Draft Christian McCaffrey. That didn't work out. I'll take my L on any injuries. Fine. Calvin Ridley in the second round. I think we got unlucky here. There's nothing we can do about it. Had some off-field issues. He had to leave the game to try and get his mentals right. I hope that Calvin Ridley gets himself settled, gets his life in order to be able to come back strong. He's a good young player, a lot in front of him in terms of his on-field future if he can get his mentals together. Hopefully he can take care of his IRL issues. Best of luck to him. Antonio Gibson is going to be a conversation because most people are going to say, well, Antonio Gibson was a miss. And I agree with you that Antonio Gibson was a miss through the lens of, at the back end of the second round, I should have had Najee Harris or Joe Mixon, who have ended the season in terms of like ESPN scoring, let's say. Very simple, most fantasy players in the world, right? So everybody knows that it's straight up PPR scoring. And Harris ended the season as the number 3 wide receiver and running back, and Mixon ended the year as the RB4 overall. And they were basically being drafted right around Gibson. They were sandwiching him. So obviously it's like, well, you didn't draft either of those two, so it was a miss. Gibson ended the year as an RB1. He was the RB12 on the season. So it wasn't spectacular. It was certainly ugly. And it was clearly a miss to draft him over Mixon or Harris, or to prioritize him over Mixon or Harris, be it in hindsight or even projectable volume. I overprojected Gibson's usage in the passing game based on his talent in the passing game, but talent is not as important in fantasy football as opportunity. And Antonio Gibson in 2021 is the absolute poster boy for that. One of the best pass catching backs in the league. But if they do not play him on passing downs, and they will not throw him the ball, then the other volume guys at the position who would, regardless of how bad Pittsburgh's offensive line is, Harris smashed. Regardless of what you thought about Joe Mixon and his offensive line, or that was going to be a pass-first offense, absolutely smashed on the season. Miss for me here, but at least I can give you a little bit more context to discuss it. CeeDee Lamb ended the year as the wide receiver 15. Kind of feel like I could have done better with this pick at the top end of the third round. The back end of the third round was Terry McLaurin. This one's a loss, but it's a loss to me because of injury. I think he would have smashed if Fitzmagic did not get hurt. It is what it is. It's an L, but I think I got unlucky here. The next round, though, hey, guys, in the 4th round, draft Cooper Kupp. Leading the league in everything. I'm going to take my win there, and I'm going to move on to the next pick from that round. If you don't get Cooper Kupp, draft Deontay Johnson. He's the wide receiver 8 on the season, was being drafted around the 55th, 54th pick, somewhere in there. I'll take my smash on this one too. Thank you very much. If you didn't get Kupp, obviously Kupp was better, but these were my 2 favorite picks out of that round. Moving on to the next round, Kyler Murray did just fine. He was the QB3 on the season. Obviously, we're trying to stack. He didn't have the monster year that we wanted out of him. He was the QB3 in terms of points per game. He clearly missed games in the middle. So on total points, he was not the QB3. On average per game, the QB3 on the year. Didn't run as much as I wanted him to. The first couple of weeks, it looked like he was going to break fantasy. And that was the season that I thought the ceiling, the top 10, if it was like a 10 Pacoda score season for him, I think he absolutely breaks fantasy. It was not that. But there were paths to him getting there in the future. He's going to be a massive fantasy asset moving forward. The touchdowns were always going to struggle for him to replicate that from 2020 to 2021, but the rushing ability is still there. They just protected him a lot more in 2021. Jerry Jeudy, this is a loss, but it's a loss because he was injured for most of the season. It was also a loss because Teddy Two Gloves is not the answer. And from the primetime show, Drew Lock ain't it. When he got hurt and Drew Lock came in, Drew Lock ain't it. So unfortunately, Jeudy got injured. I like the talent. I'm hoping that Denver can replace their quarterback situation with an all-pro caliber quarterback to take advantage of all the talent that they have on the outside. In the 6th round, give me that W. DEEBO Samuel in the 6th round. I took so much heat for this. DEEBO Samuel's not a must-draft pick. What are you talking about, streamer? No way. DEEBO Samuel, Brandon Ayuk's the guy. I think you should draft DEEBO Samuel in the 6th round. No! All right. DEEBO Samuel was the wide receiver 3 on the year. And even though they massacred my beautiful boy down the stretch, turning him into a de facto James White half running back hybrid sort of thing, and stopped throwing the ball 30+% of the time down the road, DEEBO Samuel in the 6th round, I'm going to have to tell you something. That's a win and was a massive profit on the ADP. Dak Prescott at the back end of the 6, also a win here. He was the QB6 on the season, was being drafted as QB7 or 8, so you were getting a little profit baked in there. I'm not saying Laviska Shenault's name. He has been redacted. Go to the merch store right down below the screen, and you can find any one of our redacted shirts. Now in all black with Jaguars colors across the front. We will not be mentioning him anymore on this channel. Damien Harris in the 7th round, a back-end RB2. The RB23 on the season was being drafted here in the 7th round. If you were going to tell me that you were getting an... if I told you at the beginning of the season, hey, I'm going to get you a back-end RB2 at the end of the 7th round, you'd have been in, right? Well, here we are. Damien Harris being in at that point. We got that one right. Moving on to the next pick. Darnell Mooney. I don't think this is a win or a loss. I think he was fine. Like, I just think he was fine. Like, he was the wide receiver 27. So a high-end wide receiver 3 on the year. Had no real huge spike weeks, but he was usable. Chat's saying that he's a win. Do I get a win here? I just think he's, like, fine. He certainly outpaced his price at the position, ending as the wide receiver 27, but that can be said due to injury a lot of times. I just think it's a fine. It's not a great pick. It's a fine pick. It's not anything great. Took him a while to get going. Well, they had to change to a different quarterback. Jarvis Landry, 10.3 fantasy points per game on ESPN scoring. He got injured for a lot of the year. Weird spot for him. I think that he should have done better here, but we weren't paying a lot to get him. I'm sure that people think that this one's a loss. The next pick, certainly a loss, but due to injury, nothing we can do about that. Logan Thomas was in position to smash. Tight ends on Washington were fine all year for us. They were fine. RSJ was fine. The Bates Motel was fine. Imagine if Logan Thomas was in that role with the pay raise that they gave him if Fitzmagic doesn't get hurt. This was, I think, a good pick that did not go right for us. So I refuse to take an L for injuries, but it is what it is. The next pick in the 9th round, though, win! Jalen Hurts. He was the QB8 on the year. He missed a game and a half or whatever. So on average points per game, he was the QB7 on the year. I'm going to take my win here with Jalen Hurts. All the people that said that Jalen Hurts isn't going to be the starting QB, all the people that said Jalen Hurts sucks, all the people that said he's not going to be good for fantasy. Guys, any running QB who has a starting job, a guy who's going to run it 8+ times a game and is being drafted in the 9th round of drafts or later, is somebody you should be picking, period. That's it. So if there is a running quarterback, this is why when I was talking about late round quarterbacks that could step into a job and win you a league, guys like Trey Lance, possibly guys like the kid in Chicago, Fields, right? Guys that have that rushing upside. They misused one, and then Fields they misused, in my opinion. And Trey Lance was stuck behind Jimmy G all year, but he started in week 16 and scored you 20 fantasy points. The floor on the running quarterbacks is so very high that they don't have to do much through the air to get you a massive ceiling. And we saw that from Jalen Hurts, who through the first 8 or 9 weeks of the year was the QB1. I'm going to take my win here and move on to the next round, where I have to take a couple of L's. Rondale Moore did not pan out. Meh. Didn't work. And the next one, big L. You guys remember Terrence Marshall Jr.? That was a fun couple of weeks, wasn't it? These zeros for him that were being depicted before the season started was more foreshadowing than apparently we were all willing to admit, as he got no targets and no snaps and no anything in most of the season. Now, the Carolina offense was an absolute tire fire, but my bad. I don't know what to tell you. My fault. We had some wins. We had some losses. Let's go over to Underdog Fantasy and take a look. I had 33 entries that I played in the Best Ball Mania 2. I got 7 of them through to the playoff rounds, as depicted here. I had a lot of injuries, as everybody did once they got to the playoff rounds, and it kind of sucks. You know, there's nothing you can do about it. I had Waller in a lot of places got hurt. I had Logan in a lot of places where he got hurt. WFT stack, that didn't work with the 2-pick. So like I had Mahomes, Fitzmagic, Daniel Jones, all of them hurt in the first round of the playoffs. None of them played. Dalvin Cook, Javonte Williams, Darrell Henderson in a lot of lineups for me got hurt down the stretch, did not play. Cooper Kupp, Fuller missed a lot of games this year. That was just unfortunate for him as well, off the field and injury stuff. Marquise Brown did well. Gabe Davis showed up near the end. Sterling Shepard, who was a massive value as well. I was clicking the hell out of Hunter Renfrow late in drafts around 16, 17, and 18. He was basically free. He was on a lot of these teams for me. My team that did the best, Herbert, Tannehill, Gaskin, Pollard. You see a lot of the players on the videos that I was talking about. Henderson, McKissick, McKinnon, James White. This team was the one we were calling the team of destiny, because in the first round of the playoffs, AJ Brown was out, Thielen was out, Claypool was out, and Brandon Cooks, Gabriel Davis, and Christian Kirk carried the load and got this team through to the next round of the playoffs, where I was thumped. Both of my teams that made it through came in 16 and 17. Congrats to everybody that made it through and won. My teams did not. This team had Jalen Hurts, Tua, Teddy Two Gloves, rip to Christian McCaffrey, Mike Davis, Darrell Henderson, Latavius Murray, Rashad Penny did work down the stretch. Justin Jefferson, Kupp, Sutton, Cooks, like so many hits on this team. You have to have hits. But the problem was injuries at tight end. I took a 0 in the playoffs here. Christian McCaffrey would have made a massive difference on this team there. Let's take a look at a couple of the teams that I had that made it to the playoffs. One high stakes and one in the $1 million tournament. This was the high stakes $1 million playmaker. I think it was like a $500 entry fee. I won like $900 to get through. Herbert, Cook, Connor did great. Another 0 RB target for us. Keenan Allen, DEEBO, Moore, Kmet, Godwin, who got injured down the stretch. Penny, Renfro, Murray, Hurst. AJ Brown was injured for the playoffs. Thomas injured. McKissick injured. Fitzmagic injured. Tony injured. So many injuries in the war of attrition. And my other team, I was shocked that this team got through with the 2 rookie quarterbacks. Antonio Gibson, who like kind of looked like he was all right down the playoff stretch, but like, you know, or for the course of the season as the RB12, but never really had those spike weeks. He got you enough points to be relevant in best ball, but wasn't a smash. So profitable in the best ball mania, not profitable for me on DraftKings. Had Kupp and Samuel in this one. Pringle came up huge as a 20th round pick for me down the stretch. Cooper, Kmet, Gallup, Brown didn't pan out. Henderson got hurt down the stretch. Kelsey got hurt and did not have the season that we wanted him to have, picking him in the first round. James Conner was great for us. Parham got hurt. Just absolutely nothing on the bench. You have to stay healthy in order to try and win in best ball. So thank you guys for watching this video. I like to take a look back to see what we did and why. We're going to be doing a bunch of regression videos, off-season stuff, pre-NFL draft to get us ready for when I believe best ball season really starts, when they put out the big tournaments, which is right after the NFL draft in May. We're gonna have tons of videos on this channel to get us to that point. Recap, regression, analysis, who the players are going to be, what we can target, way too early first looks, way too early first rounds, as well as some rookie videos to get you guys prepared for the draft to see where these guys might end up for those of you playing Dynasty. So thank y'all for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Look out for another one right there.
He's a legend.